He tells us, the historian tells us of these great mighty men who were joined to David. But he focuses more essentially on David's psalm, which is a fitting interpretation of his life. It is a review of the whole life of David and gives us an insight into his inner life. How he depended upon his relationship, his covenant relationship with the Lord himself. And it's his faith in the Lord, his resting in the Lord, his Redeemer, that brought him victory in life. And the historian wants to point us to that great victory, that we would share his faith and look to the Lord, who delivers us from all our enemies. The first set of giants that David has to face occurs here in a battle. David goes down into the battle, and Ishbi-Benob, say that 3 times fast, Ishbi-Benob confronts David, and he is armed with the latest technology. He has this very heavy spear, which is fearsome in itself, so that tells you that he's a very powerful man if he can use the spear to throw it in a way that would kill a man, and probably kill a deer, let alone a man or a moose. But as strong and powerful as that is, he has a new sword, as the New International Version translates it. It is a new version of a sword. And so here is a man who who's coming into battle with something like a tank on the one hand and a machine gun in the other, going into battle. And in the course of this, as David is engaged in the warfare, now this is hand-to-hand combat. And David becomes exhausted from his efforts in that regard. And now Ishbi-Benob spots David, knowing of his reputation in the past for being a great fighter, but sensing his opportunity. David was exhausted. And however great a warrior he was, being as exhausted as he was, he surely could not put up much of a fight. So Ishbi-Benob says, I'm going to kill him. And he would have killed him. David was too exhausted to fight a man of this stature. Now, reflect on that for just a moment. Remember at the beginning of David's life, as a young man, yes, in the full vigor of his youth, but nonetheless just a youth, going into battle, he won the victory at that time, not so much through his accuracy or the strength of his arm or that shot of the stone, but through his faith in the Lord. God strengthened him so that he hit his mark. Now, in his elderly years, why is there not this faith, even in his weakness, to overcome Ishbi-Benob? It may be that over the course of the years, David's faith was not as strong as it once was. Having been weakened by troubles in his life, tested, having failed from time to time, perhaps his faith did not have the early strength he once had. And so he might not have been able to overcome. That reminds us or exhorts us as we get older in life not to allow our faith to dwindle, to shrink, to grow weary, but to continually revive our faith, to continually exercise that faith, so that when greater monsters and giants come our way, we are prepared to deal with them. At the same time, we should know that God does not always deliver His people in spectacular ways. God does not always perform miracles to deliver us from trouble. Sometimes He works through ordinary means. And our faith sometimes is tested to the extent that we must trust Him for an ordinary deliverance. When our strength is failing, when we are not strong enough to face our foe, when we have to rely on others, then God also shows His grace and His power to save. And that too takes faith, to rest in the Lord's provision in that way. Well, Abishai, this zealot that we've come across in the past, who was quick to defend David's honor, and you recall was ready to behead Shimei a week or two ago. Now, Abishai sees his king defenseless and in harm's way, and he himself rushes to his aid, and at great risk to himself, takes on Ishbi-Benob and kills him. Abishai will be recognized as one of David's mighty men towards the latter part of 2 Samuel. A man who, for all of his zeal, sometimes comes through just when you need him. And God be praised for people like that. And look at his care and concern for his king. He and the rest of his men say, "You will no longer go out into battle." They're going to take care and provision for him. David is no longer strong enough to handle these kinds of things, so they set him aside. They want to be concerned. They're concerned that the lamp of Israel is not extinguished. They recognize that God's special hand is on David. And so they want to provide a wall of protection around this one to strengthen him in his time of need. How we should be doing that for our loved ones as well in their time of need. For elderly parents. For those who are growing weak in body. How we should take steps to secure their safety and well-being. That will mean taking on additional responsibilities ourselves, but it's part of honoring those whom God has given to our care.